Catherine slap exposes Meghan and Harry's circus. It's all the Sussexes' calculated hypocrisy. The return of the Princess of Wales to Wimbledon this week has exposed the royal rogues. Major issue with one photo. In the world of the royals, there are some jobs, we've got to admit, must be pretty boring. Let's look that poor guy who has to look after the more than 400 clocks at Windsor Castle, and who needs to spend 16 hours resetting them by hand when daylight savings time changes. Or what about the master of the king or queen's music, which goes all the way back to the 17th century? That's a job that I can only assume, in this day and age, means creating some bespoke Spotify playlist for Queen Camilla to listen to while she's taking a bath. But I think whoever is responsible for running the social media accounts of William and Catherine, the Prince and Princess of Wales, has one of the most monotonous and most difficult jobs. I mean, having to come up with fresh ways, day after day after day, of making two very reliable, but maybe not so exciting sorts. Doing good into Instagram catnip is a challenge that I wouldn't want to face. This week we saw Catherine showing up to Wimbledon to do her part for king and country, and the social media video that was released by the tournament is, take the cake, boring. It is the kind of thing that should be prescribed for insomnia, or maybe it should be screened as punishment in juvenile detention centers. But if you watch it, the most fascinating thing is how low-key her visit mostly was. We saw her slipping into the back row among the public. We watched her cheerfully grappling with an umbrella. And then she made her way into the drizzle, among the crowds. What I find so interesting, though, is what you do not see. You don't see a bunch of security people. You don't see all these aides following her around. And you don't see members of the public falling all over themselves to try to take videos of her on their phones. The thing about both William and Catherine is, they usually do what they need to do, without a bunch of fuss and fanfare, which couldn't be more different from how Meghan and Harry do things over in Sussex world. Over the last 12 years, Teddy's fan Catherine has been to Wimbledon so many times, that at this point, they should probably just give her her own key. For the most part, those visits have not been all that different from the very first time that members of the royal family showed up in 1907. Smile and wave and clap. Now maybe if you want to mutter in "oh, good show" here and there, that's just fine. And let's remember what happened on July 4th of 2019, when Meghan showed up with a few old friends to watch some tennis. There was an official involved in organizing Meghan's visit, and this official told the Times it was a nightmare. She was a nightmare. When Meghan took to the stands, it was to sit in a sea of dozens of empty chairs. A scene that we have not seen before or since then. According to reports, at the time, Court 1 was packed, and Serena Williams was playing. So it's not like this was because a lack of public interest. According to reports, spectators sitting nearby were ordered not to take any photos of Meghan, even though the game was already being broadcast live on TV. And there were media people here and there. There was a fan, Sally Jones, who spoke with the Telegraph, saying that the request was astonishing. And she said, "I think this royal protection officer was quite embarrassed." He appeared a bit mystified as to why he was being asked to make such a request. And then another person there to watch tennis, Hazen Hassanoff, was spoken to by protection officers, but told them, according to the Daily Mail, he had no idea she was there. And Meghan ended up looking like an idiot, when the photos clearly demonstrated that Hassanoff was not trying to take photos of her, but instead, he was trying to take photos of Roger Federer. And then there was the fact that Meghan, quote, ruffled feathers at the All England Club by showing up wearing blue jeans, which meant that she was not allowed to enter the royal box because of the strict dress code. A club source spoke with the Times saying, Andy Murray was on Court 1 afterwards, and it was a massive fox paw not to watch a Brit when she is signed up to the royal family. Perhaps in reality, all those empty seats were because of some overs. Alice Wimbledon staffer, desperate to make sure that Meghan had a great day, or maybe her security people had gotten some type of warning, and so they had to create some type of barrier for her. But then again, why did they let her go out into a crowd of thousands of people. Or maybe there was something else happening. While the precise event surrounding Seatgate may never truly come out, what has become obvious since then is that often there is a certain kind of circus that follows her and Harry, a circus that only they seem to be attracting. Let's look at what happened in late May of this year. For example, when Meghan received an award for supposedly saving feminism, thanks to some check writing, and regularly name-checking gender equality. What came after almost became an international incident now. First, Meghan and Harry got there in the kind of convoy that simply didn't make any sense for them. I mean, there were 3 giant black cars. Maybe we would expect that for us cabinet secretary, or perhaps a member of the Kardashian family. But Harry and Meghan didn't make a lot of sense. Now just that scene was crazy enough. But then there is what happened later that night. Meghan and Harry later claimed they were involved in a near-catastrophic car chase, with all these paparazzi just chasing after them. And that's an account that didn't quite fit with the New York Police Department's account, and also Mayor Eric Adams casting him events. So it's pretty interesting that it seems like there is a 3-ring circus, always surrounding Meghan and Harry. But at the same time, Harry's family back in the UK, including King Charles, seem to go about things with zero fuss. For example, a month after that whole fiasco in New York, Prince William and Sophie went to the premiere of the documentary Rhino Man. If you watch the footage of them getting there, what is interesting is how relaxed everything is. Even as their Range Rover is pulling up, a garbage man wanders a few meters away, seemingly unbothered, and not moved along by William's security people. Or what about the fact that this took place just a short distance away from a public park, filled with bread, soaking up some rare sun? Were there jostling security officers around? Were there scrumming paparazzi? No. It was all completely without drama. Even the actual king seems to be able to go out in a bow, without the kind of high-frequency angst and tension of a Bourne sequel that follows around Harry and Meghan. In April there was a video that showed up on social media, showing the king and Queen Camilla during a visit to a restaurant. They were somewhere close to Balmoral in Scotland, and they were hanging round the place. They were talking to locals, and the king even drove himself and Camilla away. There was not a single hint of the commotion that seems to always be surrounding Meghan and Harry. And then on the other hand, we've got Harry out riding his bicycle in California. In 2021 he was photographed having a pedal with what the Mail reported as a security escort driving behind him in a Range Rover. Or what about in 2022, when he was photographed again out riding his bicycle? This time it was an electric one, and this time reportedly, there were 2 bodyguards riding along with him. So why is it that the king can go wherever he wants to, seemingly unbothered? And why does Catherine just breeze about Wimbledon, when Harry and Meghan are attended by a certain pandemonium and melodrama? And these looming bodyguards now, I would say the press and public interest in Catherine is definitely on par with that of Meghan and Harry. So that cannot be the explanation. Back in 2020, Finding Freedom was released, and of course, it's the very sympathetic biography of the now permanent California exiles. Seriously though, I wonder who really has the most freedom here, and if it all ever gets to be too much for the 2 of them, then maybe they should take a minute to watch that Charles video. Is a life unbothered? I mean, let's think about the countryside in Scotland. Until those sheep start learning to use iPhones, then I think life out there is a lot more ordinary and peaceful than life in California.